Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. Back today to talk about my most anticipated releases for the month of August. It's really quite a sparse month in August. Not only do I only have 5 anticipated releases to show you, but the first one actually doesn't come out until the 14th of August, so midway through the month, which feels very strange. The good part of that is that I'm actually away for a lot of August. I'm actually going abroad with my family, so the good thing here is that because a lot of these are placed later in the month, I'm not going to miss out on their first week of publication. I can grab them as soon as they come out. So thank you to the publishing gods for that. But the first book coming out on the 14th of August is Aphrodite by Phoenicia Rogerson. You'll probably know the name Phoenicia Rogerson in the Greek myth retelling world because she was the author of Herc, which was one of the Greek myth retellings that I read last year and really enjoyed. That was looking at the life of Heracles, but not from his perspective, but the perspectives, multiple perspectives of all of the different people around him. It'd be very interesting to see if this was going to be a similar thing, Aphrodite, but from the perspectives of the people that she would influence and affect. Though I'm getting the sense from the blurb that that is not the case. I'm a liar. To begin with. I wasn't always a goddess, you see. My only real power was my beauty, you'll have heard. It's legendary, but that was never going to be enough for me. It took a web of lies to convince the gods of Olympus that I was one of them, but I did. I was that good. Zeus gave me a title and riches and loved me, and all he wanted in return was for me to love him back. But of course, Zeus was a tyrant. Not entirely surprising when you're 90% insecurities and 10% raw power. I couldn't live at someone's mercy. Really, I had no choice. I had to take on the mightiest Olympian of all, and this bit's not a lie. I intended to win. It's really interesting. I never give a whole lot of thought to Aphrodite, but that's not quite the characterization I would think of for her, so I'm really intrigued by this, to get Phoenicia Rogerson's take. Then coming out on the 21st of August, we have Rules of the Heart by Janice Hadlow. Whatever Janice Hadlow was going to write next, I was always going to be quite intrigued by. She is the author of The Other Bennet Sister, which is one of my favourite books of all time, my favourite Jane Austen retelling, which was retelling Pride and Prejudice from the perspective of Mary Bennet. So I am very intrigued by her next fiction offering. When I love it all, it is with my whole soul. My heart must be torn to pieces before it can forget. England, 1794. Lady Harriet Bessborough seemingly has it all. Wife to a lord and sister to a duchess, she is welcomed in all the most fashionable circles. Yet she yearns for something her marriage has failed to offer, true love. When she meets the captivating Lord Granville, 12 years her junior and a famous heartbreaker, she at first dismisses his advances as opportunistic flashery, but then she sees another side to him, a side she realises she cannot resist. As she plunges into an all-consuming affair, Harriet finds herself torn between her duty and her deepest desires. For in a world where appearances are everything, each anxious but besotted step she takes leads her ever closer to scandal and ruin. Oh, we love a little bit of 18th century drama. Next, coming out on the 26th of August, is a book that I'm sure many people are going to be anticipated on BookTube, and that is Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. Considering the fervour and frenzy that Babel and Yellowface had on the publishing world, on BookTube, on BookShock, I'd be very surprised if the same thing doesn't happen for this new R.F. Kuang book. I haven't read R.F. Kuang's The Poppy War series. It never particularly appealed to me, but I really liked the dark academia vibes of Babel, and I was really curious about the commentary on the publishing industry in Yellowface. So we will see. I want to see what other people say about this one, potentially before I delve in for myself. Katabasis, noun, ancient Greek, the story of a hero's descent to the underworld. Grad student Alice Law has only ever had one goal: to become the brightest mind in the field of analytic magic. But the only person who can make her dream come true is dead, and, inconveniently, in hell. And Alice, along with her biggest rival Peter Murdoch, is going after him. But hell is not as the philosophers claim. Its rules are upside down, and if she's going to get out of there alive, she and Peter will have to work together. That's if they can agree on anything. Will they triumph? Or kill each other trying? Definitely sounds a little bit more magical, a little bit more whimsical than even Babel was, since we've got this more of a worldly element to it. Yes, there was magic in Babel, but this has more of like another world that we're getting a chance to see. So most intriguing. Then the book that I am most anticipating in August, I'm going to be pouncing on this as soon as it comes out, is Boudicca's Daughter by Elodie Harper, coming out on the 28th of August. So you will know if you've been watching my channel for any length of time that I love Elodie Harper's The Wolf Den trilogy. The third book in that trilogy, The Temple of Fortuna, was my favourite book of 2024, and so I've been so excited about this new book because, as you can imagine, it is looking at the Iceni tribe. And if you were paying attention to The Wolf Den, you'll know that one of the characters in the Wolf Den trilogy, Britannica, was actually a member of the Iceni tribe. So I do wonder if we are going to get some early Britannica in here. Boudicca, infamous warrior, queen of the British Iceni tribe and mastermind of one of history's greatest revolts. Her defeat spelled ruin for her people, yet still her name is enough to strike fear into Roman hearts. But what of the woman who grew up in her shadow? The woman who has her mother's looks and cunning, but a spirit all of her own. The woman whose desperate bid for survival will take her from Britain's sacred marshlands to the glittering facades of Nero's Roman Empire. Born to a legend, forced to fight, determined to succeed. Meet Selina, Boudicca's daughter. Which this blurb intrigues me. I am wondering whether we are going to get any of Boudicca at all. I would imagine that we would, but almost this feels like it's going to take place after all of the events that we know from Boudicca. But also, I don't know how you'd be able to talk about Selina without talking about Boudicca. I don't know. Once again, I am intrigued. I really want to pick this up on release day and read it pretty much straight away. And then the final book for August is Picture Imperfect by Jacqueline. This is also coming out on the 28th of August, and it is another return, adult return, to one of her famous children's books. And by that I mean a sequel which is looking at the adult version of children characters. Previously from Jacqueline Wilson, we have had My Mum Tracy Beaker. Last year we had Think Again, which was looking at the famous Girls series, looking at the adult versions of Ellie, Magda and Nadine. And in Picture Imperfect, we are looking at Dolphin from The Illustrated Mum, getting a chance to see her as an adult. Dolphin Westwood spent her childhood as the supporting character in the story of her beautiful, wild, volatile mother Marigold. Now 33. Oh, side note, that's really interesting because Dolphin is now the same age Marigold was at the beginning of The Illustrated Mum. I remember this because Marigold makes a comment about how she's the same age that Jesus was, and that is how I first learned about Jesus being 33 when he died. Not from going to church every Sunday, but from The Illustrated Mum. Now 33, she's painfully aware that not much has changed. She lives in a tiny bedsit, works at a tattoo shop by day, and collects her illustrated mum from police stations by night. Doll yearns to climb out of the rut she is stuck in, but has no idea where to begin. Could gardener Lee and his daughter Ava be her chance of a wholesome family life? Or maybe a steamy romance with roguish actor Joel is just what she needs. If I know anything about Jacqueline Wilson and her plots, it's probably going to be the first lot. And what about the offer from her sister Star, now a successful doctor, to move to Scotland and live with her young family? As the choices threaten to overwhelm her, will Doll fall into the role of extra in someone else's story once again, or find the strength to forge a brand new path of her own? Now, if you watch my review of Think Again, you'll know that I wasn't completely enamoured with it. It was definitely nice to be back in the world of Jacqueline Wilson, back with some of these characters that we know and love, but I did feel like there was a little bit of a disconnect. Particularly, I didn't believe Ellie, Magda and Nadine at 40 in the way that Jacqueline Wilson wrote them. They simultaneously still seemed like they were 14, but then at times felt like they were 70. They just said things that didn't feel very true to any 40-year-old that I know, especially when it came to technology and social media. Just Ellie seemed so wildly out of her depth and was just like, oh, a mobile phone, this little gadget and gizmo. And I'm kind of hoping that Dolphin is not the same, because we are now meeting Dolphin when she is only 3 years older than me. I will be able to tell if she doesn't feel like a 33-year-old living in 2025 quite easily. But it's Jacqueline Wilson, author of my childhood. I have a lot of faith, I have a lot of hope. I'm hoping for good things from this. So there we go, that is my short little list of anticipated releases for August. Please do let me know about any of the books that you're looking forward to coming out this month, any that I haven't mentioned. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.